Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your time. The title of my presentation today is A Breach of Trust, Misleading Data Collection, Systematic No Transparency, and Regulatory Gap in New Zealand's Private Parking Sector. My name is Victor Wang, and this is my presentation for INFOGOV 705 course. So first of all, let's talk about the hook, a car park, and a contradiction issue. We all say it. Over public space, car park, shopping mall, they are increasingly become automated. Specifically, automated number plate recognition system. We call it ANPR. Now is almost everywhere in our world. So on the one hand, this technology absolutely offer convenience for property owner. On the other side, it passively collect over movement data and often without any active engagement from us. So this creates a problem between the company to write their poverty and ourselves as a citizen regarding with the fundamental right to protect the privacy. For me, this tension became very real in a few months ago when I received this 85 breach notice from a private company called Stella Parking. So now this might look simple, but there is one critical detail underlying this issue. Basically, to protect my personal information, I had already activated the official privacy opt-out on the NZTA website. It's specifically designed to block commercial company like Stella from getting my name and address. So question is, how did they get my data? So this question led me down a rabbit hole, and what I found was a system built on fundamental contradiction. On the one hand, we have the public promise. This is the official authorization from Stella. It's published in New Zealand Gates in 2018. I've read it. Specifically states that the access to the register is limited to individuals who have not activated a privacy opt-out. This isn't some fine print. This is official public notice. It set a clear, reasonable expectation for every New Zealander. So basically, the situation is if you opt out, your data is protected from this company. However, on the other side, we also have the hidden reality. After a week of pressing NZTA for answer, I've received official email dated in 1st of October. They confirm that the Stella Parking Company hold a separate, undisclosed Level 3 access. It can help them to get the customers' data, even they already opt out. So what does this Level 3 access do? It is specifically designed to pass the very privacy protection that was public promised to citizens. So what we have here is not a simple error, okay? We have a systematic, no transparent, dual access system, a public-facing rule for citizens, and a secret master key for a private company like Stella. So this, I argue, is fundamentally and systematically misleading. Good or bad, hard to say, but at least it gives me some insight to reframe my research question. My report seeks to answer one central question, especially for the primary question. To what extent does the current New Zealand privacy framework, following the removal of specific public register provision in the Privacy Act 2022, adequately protect citizens from systematic, misleading data protection practice by authorized user of motor vehicle register? And to answer this, I'm focusing on two separate secondary questions. So the first secondary question is, how do the concept of fair and transparent collection under IPP3 and generous informed consent even apply when a government agency authorized user operate under a no transparent dual access authority? And second, to what extent would the proposed new principle on automated decision-making, IPP3A, actually addresses the harm that this case has identified. Let's begin with the analysis. So my first point of analysis is that this entire framework creates what I can call an illusion of control. The system, as is designed by NZTA, is fundamentally misleading. My argument is that this failure to disclose the Level 3 bypass is a textbook example of misleading conduct by omission under the Fair Trading Act 1986, a material fact that the public opt-out can be secretly bypassed is intentionally kept from the public. The legal consequences of this is absolutely crucial. When we drive into a car park, we hold entering an implied contract, but any such contract is arguably formed under a false premise. A customer, in this case, can be any driver, simply cannot provide informed consent when the privacy assures that underpinning that the entire transaction are demonstrably untrue. This isn't just a privacy breach, it's a fundamental breach of fair dealing. So, beyond the Fair Trading Act, this case cuts right to the heart of Privacy Act 2020 itself. My analysis shows is a direct breach of a core information privacy principle, specifically IPP3, which governs how you collect information from the subject, and IPP4, which dictates the manner of collection. Now, these principles are very clear, and they state that any collection of personal information must be lawful, must be fair, and must not be unreasonable intrusive. But how can a collection method possibly be considered as fair when it is fundamentally built on deception? Thinking about Stella, with NZTA's full knowledge, promoted a public opt-out for privacy, while simultaneously hold a secret master key, the Level 3 access which makes the public choice completely meaningless. That isn't just unfair, it's actively deceptive. And you know what? You don't just have to take my word for it. And this is a real kicker. In that same official correspondence, NZTA, the regulator, admit to me in writing that they are aware this dual system causes confusion for public. Confusion, that is their words. When the agency designed the system admit is confusion, well, that right there is my primary evidence that the collection method failed the fairness test required by the law. It is unreasonable, unfair, intrusion on every citizen whose right to believe their privacy choice mattered. NZTA also admit in writing that the dual system cause confusion is something that not many people raised, so I guess I'm the first person who raised this issue to them. But the breach doesn't just stop at the point of collection, it continues even today. After I proved the system was misleading and they waived the fine, I made a simple request. As is my right under IPP9, the retention principle, the principle states that an agency cannot keep personal information longer than necessary for its lawful purpose. My purpose being fined was gone, so I asked them, please confirm you have now deleted my personal information. Their response? Silence. They have repeatedly refused to confirm deletion. This isn't just a bad customer service. It's an ongoing breach of IPP9. They're holding my data without a lawful purpose. And this leads to the most critical question in any privacy claim. Where is the harm? Stella might argue, okay, we waive the 85 fee, so there's no harm done. But the law, and specifically the Human Rights Tribunal review, tells a very different story. And this is where Harmad versus Credit Union Bay White case becomes so important. So the tribunal in that case has defined harm as a loss of benefit. In my case, what benefit did I lose? I lost the very benefit the privacy opt-out was designed to give me, the right to control my personal data. This is a tangible loss. And secondly, the tribunal defined harm as emotional harm. This includes humiliation, distress, and injury to feeling. I can tell you, going through the process is a very painful process, and I don't want to do that again, to be honest. So the harm isn't just real, it's legally recognized, and is precisely what the Privacy Act was designed to prevent. So, and this leads me to the critical question of harm. Stella might argue this is something very trivial, not very important. But let's see the case of Taylor versus Correction. The fact shows the opposite. Firstly, the tribunal implementary confirmed that unwarranted stress from an agency's failure indeed legal harm. Secondly, the landmark of Harmon case defined emotional harm as the anxiety and stress caused by coercive tactic, exactly like Stella's fine. Most importantly, Harmon established a loss of benefit include no financial right. The benefit I lose was the very one the opt-out was designed, and also my mental health. But the real question is, where is the regulator in all of this? What is NZTA role? My analysis shows the regulator isn't just passively observe here. They are not simply asleep at the wheel. In fact, I argue that NZTA is actively complicit in this entire system. And the reason is because they are the one who create this dual access system. They are the one who wrote the public rule in GAZE, knowing they will also issue a secret level 3 key that made the public rule meaningless. They also have the responsibility to continue operating this system even after we admit its cause confusion. The agency that enables Stella's misleading practice into real world. And this, I believe, goes far beyond a simple administrative error. It touches on a much deeper ethical failure. When we talk about public agency managing national data assets, like a motor vehicle register, we should expect a profound duty of care. We can even borrow a concept of over Module 3 reading, the concept of atikitanga, a duty of guardianship. So NZTA, the guardian of over collective data, by creating, concealing, and defining the system, they have fundamentally failed in that duty. They have prioritized a commercial convenience over a private car park. And to be honest, as a citizen, I really don't know what I should do on this case. So, after analysis of the failing of the current system, I want to shift our focus to the future and to a potential solution. This isn't a critique, it's about finding a fix. And that fix, I believe, is proposed Information Privacy Principle 3A. So, firstly, let's call Stellar System what is an automated decision-making system. An ANPR camera passively collects data. A computer automatically matches it against a list, and it automatically issues a fine. This is often no meaningful human intervention. This is exactly what the proposed IPP3A is designed to regulate. This new principle, which is currently being considered, would give individuals the right when an agency uses automation to make a decision that significantly affects them. What it do? It would require agencies like Stellar to be transparent about their automated process, It would give individual the right to explanation of how the decision was made, and most critically, it would give individual the right to request a meaningful human review that the automated decision. Now, just imagine for a moment if IPP3A had been in fact, Stella could not have hidden behind the automatic system. They would have been legally required to provide transparency and a proper human review process. This one principle would have directly addressed the core harm of no transparency, and the computers say no approach that I experienced. It's a vital and necessary update to our privacy law for the algorithm age. So, and this is called to accelerate IPv3A is not a radical proposal. In fact, it's aligned perfectly with the state legislative intent of the 2020 Act. As Paul Ross' commentary highlights, when the Act was passed, the Ministry of Justice explicitly states that the change reflects international trend. In privacy law, right now, New Zealand lag behind on automated decision making. Enacting IPv3A is simply fulfill the Act's original goal, ensure our data protect keep space from the world. So what does this tell us? My investigation, which started with a single $85 fine, has led me to three clear and unavoidable conclusions. First, inadequate framework. The current MVR framework is failing to protect citizens from system misleading data collection. Think about if you already set out opt-out and you think you are safe, but in reality, you realize that someone can still access your data. What's the point of design that framework? Secondly, is unfair burden. The burden of proof falls entirely on the individual, requiring extraordinary effort to uncover systematic flaw. I must say I'm very lucky on this situation because not everyone like me, have the time and have the research resource to do that relevant research. So for Duran people, they might say, okay, I don't want to pay $85, it's a little bit too high. What will happen to them is the car park company will hire a debt collector to chase them up. And finally, they have to pay. But my approach is I have identified the issue, which is the access of my personal data in the very beginning. So I have space to argue. But I really don't like the idea that, most of people, they have to pay at the end. And thirdly, is the gap. Good practice is dead. As Rose's commentary suggests, the old 1993 model of trust good practice is not here. The case proves a gap exists between technical legality and ethical data stewardship. My conclusion shows that this is a systematic problem. Therefore, it demands systematic solution. This isn't just about one company or one complaint. It's about fixing the framework. My report concludes with three specific actionable recommendations aimed at three key players who can fix this. Firstly, for the Privacy Commission, I'm calling for a formal industrial-wide inquiry into transparency and data handling practice of all ANPR operators. My case is unlikely to be an isolated incident. The OPC has the power to investigate a whole sector, and it's time to shine a light on the entire industry. Secondly, and most urgently, for NZTA, the recommendation is simply to immediate NZTA must urgently amend the condition of all Level 3 access authorization. It must be a mandatory requirement that this master key is disclosed with complete public transparency in all public notice, all privacy policies, and all gaze notices. This single change would instantly close the loophole, eliminating the confusion and restore meaningful consent for all New Zealander. And finally, for our lawmaker, my report calls on Parliament to accelerate the enactment of the proposed IPP3A on automated decision making. This law is already drafted. It is needed now to be provide New Zealand with a tool to change automated system. Furthermore, we need to consider even clear legislation that specifically govern on how personal data is assessed for private enforcement purpose. This is not radical idea. This is a necessary step in restore trust and ensure our law reflect the spirit and not just a technical letter of privacy. And here is my reference. I have put my reference into legislation, case, international law and material, official document and secondary resource, as well as the primary evidence from all correspondence from me and the NZTA, as well as Stellar and official Privacy Commission. To be honest, I still have no idea on how to best organize them all together, so your feedback would be much appreciated. Thanks again for watching. I'm looking forward to hear you soon. Have a nice day.